Good evening, consumers of professional wrestling. Hello again, and welcome to my podcast, Receipt Radio. And you're going to listen to my horrible monotone voice for probably the next hour. I'm going to talk PWA Green Label, their second edition, Quack to the Future. Do a little bit of a recap and review of the event that I enjoyed on OVOplay. And I'll talk a little bit about Break Their Backs and Make Them Rumble as well. The full card has been confirmed, so we'll go through that a little bit, give a bit of a preview on some of the matches. The Rumble itself will probably be a bit of a hard one because of all the surprises. Even looking at the Newey Pro Rumble and some of the wrestlers that they had, you wouldn't be able to predict. So I'll just have a bit of fun with it and give maybe a prediction of who I think might win. But let's start with PWA Green Label Part 2, Quack to the Future. I'm actually going to call any podcast that I do about PWA or Newey Pro, I'm going to call that the OVOflow or the Aussie Wrestling OVOflow. The agreement that PWA have with OVOplay, they've got it under Aussie Wrestling, so I've gone with Aussie Wrestling, and then the play on OVO and OVOflow because they're overflowing us with so much entertainment at the moment. Well worth the subscription fee. I think it's like $10 a month, and there's so many events. You can even go back to watch some of the previous ones now, but being able to watch them live, PWA have been doing a fantastic job. I know Jack Bonza, I think it was on Wrestle Radio Australia, was talking about sort of the difficulty of transitioning to the live format as opposed to a taped format, but I think they're doing a wonderful job. I've got to stop saying sorry, but yeah, they're doing a really great job. They look very seamless to me. And then just having that classic match in between as well, it's fantastic. But without further ado, let's talk a little bit about Green Label Part 2, Quack to the Future. This was the second event under the Green Label banner, which emanates from the Crowbar, which was the bald-faced stag, I believe, at one point on Parramatta Road there at, let's call it Leichhardt. It's probably not Leichhardt, but yeah, it's in the inner west of Sydney. This particular event was a special one because it came off the back of a pretty special week of training for the PWA roster, and wrestlers from interstate and international locations as well. But they wanted to take advantage of that training with the maestro. He's a master. He is the master of 1,000 holds. Lightning Mike Quackenbush. He's been to PWA before. A lot of the top guys in PWA rave about Mike Quackenbush. I remember when Jack Bonza did a podcast, again, with Wrestle Radio Australia, a lot of people were giving him a lot of props for his wrestling psychology talk with Todd Eastman, but he pointed people in the direction of Quackenbush. He said, you've got to go and talk, you've got to go and seek out, I should say, Mike Quackenbush. His podcast, Kayfabe 2.0, he's written a book as well, 7 Keys to Being a Better Performer as well. He's done a podcast with On the Turnbuckle as well, which was really informative too. But these wrestlers got to spend, an intensive week of training with Mike Quackenbush. And like I said in a write-up that I've done on my website, potatoandreceipt.com, your local wrestlers were so excited about this week. They were openly musing of their passion and excitement on Twitter and in particular, but on Facebook, Instagram as well, PWA Academy, PWA Facebook page, they made sure they covered it as well. And it got me really excited for the event because, yes, Mike Quackenbush was going to be in action in this one, but we get to see with the Green Label shows, we get to see the up and comers, debutantes, and then they go head to head with the experienced roster members as well, and it makes for really good combinations of matches and storytelling. The Let Them Fight card was fantastic. So it just got me really excited this whole week. And then that first edition, obviously the Black Label stuff as well, get you excited. How couldn't it? But um, I like the fact that they put that greater focus on the next group of incredible talent that are coming through that Pro Wrestling Australia Academy. Um, the could very well be on the cusp of the Black Label shows as it is, but giving them that start with Green Label just due to the fact that the Black Label shows are so stacked with talent that these guys. I said overflow as the show. They kind of overflow with the talent. So somebody has to miss out, unfortunately. So it's just fantastic that they've got this sounding board, if you like, this opportunity to see how they go in front of the live crowd. Now on a live stream as well on OVOplay. It's not even just the live audience experience as well. It's even knowing that you're going out to a live audience as well, and the pressures that come with that. So this show, as I stated, was available to me via the power of OVOplay. And the show in general was fantastic. As I said in my write-up, it shows why professional wrestling in this country, in Australia, is in a really special place. All of the matches on the card were fantastic. Really enjoyed them all. They all sort of told different stories, which I can sort of get to as we go through, maybe one by one. I also really like the flavour of having sort of Don Marnell do the commentary as opposed to Chris Gale and Andrew Rose. I really do like those two guys as well, and they do a great job for Black Label. But I like the fact that it's a Green Label show, so they've got different commentator in Don Marnell, and I like the fact that they've got guests commentators coming on. So they've had Jack J. Bonza, now they've had the Sniper of the Skies, Robbie Eagles, for this show. Just those guys can really talk to the wrestling. Like Don Marnell does a great job and provides so much color, and his play-by-play is great. But I just love the passion and particularly with this one with Robbie Eagles, just as it being particularly fresh in my mind, was very passionate and informative about the holds, the wrestlers and their stories. Obviously, training with these guys and girls all the time, and it was great. It's like when you see the Nigel McGuinness's. There was a good documentary on the WWE Network where they showed him sort of talking to not only Mauro Ronaldo, but also then going and talking to some of the grapplers that he was going to be talking about. So he knew points of focus to bring up and their history and all that sort of stuff. Well, Robbie knows that history firsthand. And it made for such great commentary. And I think Don Marnell said it, like if the guy wasn't wrestling, he could definitely make a game out of commentary. And I think he even said to him during the commentary, is there anything that he couldn't do? To which he said that his wife said that he couldn't sing. So we'll forgive you, Robbie, because you're killing it everywhere else. All right, enough of me rambling. Let's take a look at the matches and break down some of the action. So the first match, the opening match, was the prize bull, Sam Osborne, and he was taking on Dragonheart Kai Drake. The Sam Osborne character I really like. The Spinners song, the Rubber Band Man, it's great. It really goes with that big grin that he walks out with, and his sweatshirt that's tied in the yacht club knot, that's draped over his shoulders, like a rugby player, or the yacht club, as I said. And then, he's always asking for that coffee cup, and we always see the official have to come out and give him his coffee cup. I'd really love to see him use a keep cup. I know he's probably just he's probably taking a bit of a shot at Jackson Kelly there. I know Jackson Kelly's a big keep cup guy. And they've had their issues in the past, but I'm not going to hold that against him. The thing is, with the grin and the cockiness, or whatever you want to call it, the brashness, it's not without merit. This guy is killing it everywhere he wrestles. He's trained at the Battle Arts Academy. He's had a WWE tryout, um, and he's just killing it in Australian wrestling as well. He was the FWA champion up until this past weekend. Spoilers, sorry. Um, in the last PWA Black Label show, he had a fantastic match with Robbie Eagles. Um, and it was an encounter where he really did shine, and he proved that he belongs in the same ring as somebody that is of the caliber of someone of the Sniper of the Skies, and as I said in my write up, he could very well one day have that green belt sitting on his hips. It might not go particularly with the maroon burgundy attire, but he could have that green belt draped over his hips as well while he's making this cocky entrance. His opponent for this one is Kai Drake. Very interesting character as well in his own way. He wears his emotions emblazoned on his face, and similarly, his music, the song "Carry On" by Parkway Drive, it's a really perfect complement to his sort of internal rage, and he has his red attire as well, and I know that sort of has um, you know, references to dragons and things, the color red, but I think it really goes with the rage as well. And he's another guy that's been making regular appearances in PWA, and he's really battled some of the top guys on the roster as well, in the form of Matt Rogers and Robbie Eagles, and even Conco and the Fudge. And he's been in a bit of an interesting position because he kind of was in a tag team with Luciano, who's sort of been off training at Farley Dojo. So Lucha Kai hasn't really been active as a team. So that's really left Kai Drake to try and battle on as a singles competitor himself. And that's had some varying results in Black Label, but nobody can question the guy's spirit, and he is always turning up for a fight. And if you doubt the guy for a second and you judge him based on his record, you are doing so at your own peril. And his striking game is next level, which why at the start of this match, Sam Osborne did everything in his power to try and avoid that dangerous striking of Dragonheart. He was employing sort of a more technical grappling style to try and keep Drake close as opposed to allowing that distance, because if there was that distance there, we were going to see those kicks get uncorked, those strikes allow Kai Drake to generate some power there. So he was really doing his best to try and create that distance. Himself, I should say, Kai Drake was trying to create that distance while Sam Osborne was trying to restrict it. Kai Drake would get distance a couple of times and sort of narrowly miss a spinning kick or a big strike, and the prize bull was able to avoid that somewhat, but then Drake was able to get some distance, and it did allow him to unload some of those strikes, especially in the form of some of his really strong chops, and they really make me clutch my chest. Chops are one of those things I always seem to feel them, even whether I'm in the crowd, but even over the computer, and I don't know. These guys are getting so much better at these chops as well, because it doesn't seem to matter what show I'm watching. Somebody just unloads one of those chops, and you just hear it way over the sound of anything else in the in the arena. They're huge, and they must absolutely smart. They really must. Yeah, so Osborne didn't like that, and he sort of fleed a little bit. But it wasn't all out of cowardice as well. I think it did allow the crafty Osborne to take advantage of a pretty overzealous Kai Drake, and he began to work the right foot. And once this opportunity presented itself to Sam in this right foot, he just was so relentless. He contorted it. He even worked the toes at one point after he removed the shoe veneer, as I believe it's now being dubbed. Um, he just absolutely brutalized it in the form of stomps, contortion, some stretching. As I said, he worked those toes, even the little bit of joint manipulation, as Don Marnell pointed out. Shades of a Pete Dunne, the bruiserweight there, with some of those sort of small joint manipulation. Uh, but yeah, he was absolutely nasty about it. But Kai Drake, even on one foot, still showed why they call him Dragon Heart, with the word heart there. He just refused to yield to the prize bull. He was always trying to counter Osborne's moves, even into some clever pinfall attempt. I thought that was really clever. He wasn't able to sort of uncork the strikes as he would normally be able to when he's comfortably on two legs. So what he's done is he's just tried to counter moves into pinfall attempts. You know, doing his very best, but he was weak. He was weakened by the behaviours of Osborne during this match, and Osborne was particularly nasty. At one point in the match, he sort of bent the exposed foot over the ropes to really generate leverage, and he tied him up to the tree of woe onto one foot as well, and then just started laying into that ankle with punches. It was nasty stuff. Um, and it made a pretty big shift in momentum there, because it just made everything almost impossible for Dragonheart at that point. We take weight distribution on both our legs for granted, I think, and sometimes we just take advantage of the fact that we can move on two legs. If you had one of your legs taken out from you, particularly your ankle, it just makes everything so much harder, and especially in a wrestling match. And it sort of made pinfalls even an impossibility. But I have to say, Dragonheart even sort of employed a suplex with a bridge, and he lifted that sore foot up to try and he held it there, but obviously not stable enough to really push for a three count there. And unfortunately, it was sort of the last ditch attempt, because what ended up happening was Sam Osborne, he got Drake in the middle of the ring, and he sort of figure forward the ankle and foot around each other, and it just generated so much force in the middle of the ring, and there was no rope break or escape available, and Kai Drake was forced to submit to Sam Osborne. Um, Great match, fantastic display by these two guys. Such a great way to open the show. Um, Really great story that was told there with the leg, um, and even the two characters as well. Like Sam Osborne's kind of that preppy, rugby guy. The yacht club, as I said. He's that affluent guy from Mossman, and he's taking on this guy that doesn't even really talk. He makes a lot of growls and noises, and he crawls around in the ring like a serpent. Um, it was really contrasting styles, contrasting personalities. Fantastic display by these two guys. I've got so much love for both of these dudes. They do great things. Really excited to see what's next for both of them. And the prize bull, Sam Osborne, built some serious momentum heading into break their backs and make them rumble, if he's going to be in that rumble match. But Kai Drake, you know what? He loses the contest here, but he's lost nothing else in my view. He just shows so much fight, so much heart. He really well and truly, even if Sam Osborne won't admit it in an interview situation, I am sure that he has the respect of Sam Osborne and the locker room for that matter. To battle on one leg like that. Um, Really gutsy stuff. But congratulations to Sam Osborne on this one, and commiserations to Kai Drake. Okay, the second match of the evening, it featured a PWA debut, and that is the gloriously glamorous Silvio Milano. Brought the shade as he battled the original Richard South. who was accompanied to the ring by counterpart Unsocial Jordan. Richard South's transformation since aligning himself with SMS and Unsocial Jordan back in March has been one of the most fascinating storylines in Australian professional wrestling this year, in my view. Tough Stuff and the original are very much day and night, respectively, in relation to a bunch of things. Ring style, move set, and their attire. They're sort of doing a bit of a Steve Jobs style thing at the moment with the black long neck. I think they even do the sort of the posing with the hands. I don't know if that's actually a Steve Jobs thing, but it just reminds me of the guy, to be honest. And it's a really great story. Like I said, the transition from these two totally different characters is a real credit to the man himself, Richard South, who, under the guidance of Unsocial Jordan, he's contained that flamboyant aggression and he's embraced that sort of conservative nature of SMS, who speak out against those who bring debauchery, pardon the pun, and adult themes to PWA. And they've turned it into, speaking out against those who have turned it into the 18 plus environment it's become, this black label, this green label. None of this stuff is family friendly anymore. And I think that really makes this battle with Silvio Milano like all the more important when we look at the two characters, Ricky South, Silvio Milano. They're not so different. They're both hard-hitting guys. They're both flamboyant. And then this Richard South character is just so different. And I think for Richard South, Silvio would have been incredibly motivated going into this match. Big opportunity, someone he idolized that he could battle against, and possibly help him see what he used to be. And then battling Richard South would also be motivated because, he sees this person that's not so different from Ricky South, the tough stuff character. The tough stuff persona. So both men would be highly motivated for different reasons. Silvio, of course, would want to win in his debut regardless of opponent, as it would be a huge way for him to prove himself that he belongs on the roster, and not only in green label but in black label as well. But the thing is that Silvio, to his credit, he's been wrestling elsewhere in New South Wales for ages, and he's been working on his craft at Pro Wrestling Academy, and it's led to this opportunity for him. So big match for both of these men. And yeah, Silvio unfortunately would not be allies with Ricky South on this night. They would have to battle. And one thing I will point out, it was an amazing reception for Silvio. The crowd was right behind him. So obviously the PWA audience, very educated. They know him. They've seen him around. They've probably gone to some of the other promotions where Silvio has wrestled in the past, such as Wrestling Go, for example. So it's been it was quite good. It was quite refreshing to see something like that. Apologies if I'm sort of jumping around. I haven't podcasted very much, so go easy on me. So basically, to open this match, Silvio sort of used his flamboyance quite early to put Richard South off. He even went as far as using his bootay, using his butt when whipped off the ropes. He sort of got into a bit of a twerk position, and that sort of put Ricky South or Richard South off a bit. Not sure how to react to it. In a second attempt, though, he did kick him in the butt when that happened. Richard South kicked Silvio in the butt. But Unsocial Jordan, quite early in this match, got involved, distracted the referee, and Richard South removed that Steve Jobs turtleneck and he wrapped it around the neck of Silvio, and he was choking the life out of the guy while the referee was distracted. And Unsocial Jordan would do that again when Silvio appeared to be getting the upper hand. Then once again allowing the original Richard South, sorry Richard, the original Richard South to then put Silvio back down again. So just any sort of chance of any momentum, Unsocial Jordan would get involved. And it's just ironic because there's the match at Break Their Backs and Make Them Rumble between Unsocial Jordan and Concrete Davidson, where their partners are banned from ringside. And this sort of behaviour is a perfect reason why that needed to be the case. Because Unsocial Jordan, and even when he is the one in the ring wrestling Richard South or a Tyler Payne, they're really, really good at playing that role to distract the referee and allow their SMS counterpart in the ring to take advantage and do something to gain the upper hand, whether it's the use of that camera tripod or a variety of other things like these turtlenecks, which are now just gone from being a fashion statement to a weapon. Yeah, so Silvio, despite these setbacks, would be a thorn in Southside throughout the match. Unloaded a really nice kick straight to the face, among some other really nice moves. But Richard, unfortunately, was able to regather his bearings and delivered a few pretty nasty power moves of his own, including his devastating pile driver, which beforehand before he delivered that move, he basically lifted him into the position and he yelled out to the crowd to stand with SMS, and he covered his mouth in standard fashion. And I think he was sending a pretty clear message to the Black Shirt Cool group, as well as any detractors of SMS, including those in the audience there at Crowbar, and delivered a pretty devastating pile driver. And Silvio Milano did a wonderful job in this match. He definitely made a statement that he deserves a regular appearance, particularly on the Green Label shows. Despite losing to Richard South here. But Richard South made a massive statement about SMS and himself. He is banned from ringside in this match between Concrete Davidson and his partner, his cohort, Unsocial Jordan. However, he is another person that has built some momentum and could go into this Rumble and potentially win it. So we got two really solid encounters to start this one, singles matches with different flavors, if you will. And then we got a multi-man. We got Steph DeLander, who battled Aaron Jake, Jay Sorbet, and Ultimate Fighter Fudge. So four-way dance. So we've got the Python powerhouse, Steph DeLander, who has been killing it everywhere that she goes. Big things on the horizon for her, I'm sure. She's another one that's had a WWE tryout. We've got Aaron Jake, who's been doing some great stuff. The Green Label shows. He's also a regular with Wrestling Go as well, doing some fantastic stuff there as a member of the Velocities. Jay Sorbet, Young Lions Cup, Chikara. He's been wrestling around New South Wales for a variety of promotions, rock and roll wrestling, FWA, even the likes of AWE as well. And then Ultimate Fighter Fudge. So it's different flavor of Big Fudge. So Big Fudge comes in many flavors for Green Label. I remember when they first announced Green Label, they talked about it being a bit more of a Fight Club vibe. Big Fudge took that very seriously and started training MMA to become Ultimate Fighter Fudge. So this was a really cool little four-way match in my view. And it was funny when Fudge got into the ring. He came in with his entourage, if you will, for his match. His cornerman, which was very cool. He came in. He showed off a variety of different moves that he's been working on with his MMA training. I think he was so excited about showing them off to the other members of the match. He got quite tired and fatigued very early. Those camps are pretty brutal, those fight camps. So he's had to go and have a sit down. So they've set up the stool in the corner and they've given him water and stuff. Meanwhile, Aaron Jake and Jay Sorbet aren't going to mess around. They need to get stuck in to the lander. And it seems to be that any of these multi-man matches that I see, the opponents of Steph DeLander are smart. They know that they have to team up and go after Steph DeLander. She is so dangerous that it doesn't matter who you are, you need to team up or get some sort of advantage over her. She's got so much power and strength, and she's tough as nails. And if you don't, take advantage of a situation by having maybe a 2-on-1 assault here, like you could end up with a very bad result. So it's better to team up, and they did that at the start of this match, and that was quite clever. But Steph DeLander had no trouble dealing with that alliance, unfortunately. She took them both out with a pretty strong shoulder tackle. She followed up with like a nice corner clothesline. But while she showed off to the crowd, Fudge had recovered. He left the corner and he attempted to put a leg lock on DeLander, and it was very impressive. DeLander was able to basically carry Pink Fudge's entire weight as he wrapped around her leg. Very, very strong. But Fudge, some of his techniques did come off. He scored a takedown not long after this, but he wasn't too sure about how to find a dominant position in the ground game, unsure how to apply an effective submission. So he just resorted to kicking her in the ribs. He sort of stood up and went, and then just kicked her in the ribs. He probably needs to spend some time talking to Maddie Wahlberg, who's got a lot more MMA experience, who might have been able to point him in the right direction, or maybe he needs to watch some go to Gracie University on YouTube or something like that. But so he did manage that takedown and the kick in the ribs. But then Sorbet and Jake attempted to get back in the ring, but they were thwarted by Fudge. He almost locked in an armbar, and then the Python Powerhouse used Fudge's own stool as a weapon. And she absolutely nailed him. He got on a bit of a roll there, and she brought him back down to earth with the stool. Obviously, no disqualification in a multi-person match. So, unfortunately, that one hurt Fudge. He did manage a takedown on her, but and did follow up with a little bit of ground and pound. It was quite good to see him employ another MMA staple in the ground and pound, but he was confronted by his ultimate confectionery rival in the Scooper Man, Jay Sorbet. I believe in the commentary they said it was the sweetest rivalry in all of wrestling. I would like to see some more people book that match for now between Jay Sorbet, Big Fudge, one-on-one. I would love to see that match. Somebody out there needs to book it, get it happening. And hey, maybe they could one day be a tag team, the pick and mix mega powers or something like that. Who knows? But I'd love to see them go one-on-one. But back to this match. We saw a really great striking exchange between the two, and then we got a great spot in the corner where Jay Sorbet sort of turned his back to the middle of the ring, which was a bad mistake, as Fudge basically used the butt of Jay Sorbet as a speedball. He was doing butt punches in very high frequency. But it didn't seem to have too much of an effect. It wasn't as strong as one of those wind-up, power-up butt punches. And we saw a really nice little move set there from Sorbet, a nice combo where he sort of hit a nice corner clothesline into a lion salt. And then Steph DeLander and AJ got involved here just to save Big Fudge because he was done for, I think. But Jay Sorbet then hit a few of his very nice scoop slams. He's very good at the scoop slams, whether it be one scoop or two. And he followed it up with his That's a Sorbet elbow drop as well. But then Aaron Jake used this opportunity himself to remove the Python powerhouse from the match. And then Sorbet and Aaron Jake now battling it out in the middle of the ring. Aaron Jake sort of got his moment to shine here. He delivered some pretty nasty looking strikes. It showed a real mean streak. And then he hit that Gotch style neutralizer as well, which was really cool. Shades of Cesaro. Very, very cool move from Aaron Jake. I popped for it. He hit that one on Jay Sorbet. Fudge then took advantage of a distracted AJ. He applied a rear naked choke, which Steph DeLander stopped fairly abruptly. And then Fudge hit some butt punches. So he hit one on Steph DeLander, and then he put her in a guillotine choke. This was quickly stopped by Jay Sorbet. But then he went on this. So it was just funny. He went from sort of this grappling. He had a real lack of confidence. He was very, he had a real lack of confidence. Let's go with that. With the grappling, he didn't know what to do at the start, and then all of a sudden he just went on this roll. So he butt punched Steph DeLander into the guillotine. Jay Sorbet counters that. He goes into a rolling armbar. He hits DeLander, a GTS on DeLander, a bit of shades of CM Punk, another MMA convert. And Sorbet showed a bit of a nasty side to him as well. He got Tyson involved. For those unfamiliar, it's a tie that Jay Sorbet has with him to the ring. They have a very unique relationship, Sorbet and Tyson. And he choked him. He choked Fudge with the tie until Aaron Jake took out Sorbet with an inverted DDT. Really nice. I don't see too many of them, actually. So it was a really interesting move from Aaron Jake. I really liked this guy's moveset, actually. But this allowed DeLander to hit her sort of modified TKO, which is another great move. And she hit that one on AJ. She got the win. Massive win for DeLander. I believe I tweeted that she needed to get her very own graveyard. There was a fantastic promo to do with MCW. I know this is a PWA podcast, but a great thing with Indy Hartwell with their upcoming match this weekend, I believe, August 31st, I think it is, at the Thornbury Theatre. But the promo was great. She goes into a graveyard and she needs 3 more graves here. She did a phenomenal job. And another one that with the Rumble. And like I said at the start of this podcast, I'll pick someone, but it really could be so many different grapplers. The roster is so stacked, so talented, that you could probably make a case for so many different people to win, break their backs and make them rumble. And I think it's just one of these things where you probably just got to get lucky on the night. It's just got to be your night. Not lucky's not the word, but it's just got to be your night. A few things have to go your way, as well as you putting in the performance of a lifetime. So, Steph DeLander, again, a momentum builder. And we move on to our next contest, which was between the 21st Century Success Story, who was in action on this night, as he battled another PWA Green Label debutant in Danger Paul, who, despite being in a debut on Green Label, he's been wrestling for 10 years, so he's definitely no slouch in the ring. And a bit of trivia. I'm pretty sure he actually appeared at the PWA Progress event in 2018, the Star Event Center, which was one of my first PWA live experiences. And it was in Battle Royale that was won by Michael Spencer, and featured quite a few members of the PWA roster. I think even Diego wrestled in that match, as opposed to his announcing duties. He was actually wrestling in that one in the Battle Royale, which was won by the Principal Wrestling, Michael Spencer. But we will talk more about Michael Spencer later. Let's talk about Danger Paul and Matty Wahlberg. So Matty Wahlberg was on a bit of a mission here. He had his stint in Survivor, and his goal was to win Survivor. That hasn't quite come to fruition. So now, he has been entered into this fantastic tournament, this ultimate proving ground for professional wrestling, the Coliseum tournament, where the best grapplers from around the country and even internationally, with Orange Cassidy announced, and potentially more internationals. Who knows? Who knows who PWA has invited and who will accept their invitation to the Coliseum? But we know that Matty Wahlberg has accepted his invite, and he has vowed to win the Coliseum tournament. And he said he's going to change it up a little bit. He's going to leave some of the fun and games for a while. We'll still see the same personality, I'm sure, but he's developed a real focus about this, and he's going to put beer pong and things like that to the side, because he wants to plan a really big run and take it and win, take Coliseum out, win Coliseum. And I think the best way for him to do that was to stop a very hungry Danger Paul in this clash, who again is fighting to be on the roster. These green label shows are so great because I'm sure that all of these debutantes are looking at these established names and saying, take me lightly at your peril, because I'm fighting to get onto this roster. I want to prove that I belong here, and I'm going to go off the back of you. So Matty did a bit of grandstanding in this match. We'll get to that, but Danger Paul very hungry. Wahlberg definitely displayed some of his showboating and mind games to put his opponent off. But it's part of the mind games. I look at someone like Nate Diaz when they fight, Nick Diaz. They definitely do that sort of behavior as well. There's a bit of a showboating, and they might throw a jab, and their opponent knows the power that they have and the skill that they have. So, and they can see the confidence in their eyes, like that they just don't care, they know, they look at them and they say, I know I can beat you. And it definitely puts their opponent off. And I think Wahlberg definitely does the same sort of thing. He's definitely got that Nick Diaz behavior. Not exactly the same. I'm not trying to say that, he's a Stockton motherfucker, but he gets there and he does that same sort of behavior. He'll go for a jab, or he'll go for a leg kick, or he'll, really try and play mind games to put off his opponent. He's got such fancy footwork, and he uses that jab and that leg kick. He measures up his opponent. He keeps him at a distance. He's controlling that center of the ring. Very much MMA fighter. And you can see that he's definitely got that MMA background. Hit a takedown, showed beautiful transition to a full mount, which he did with ease. Like I said, Big Fudge needs to train with Matty. When Matty's not doing Coliseum and he's having a bit of downtime, if you can get him on a bit of downtime when he's not training his ass off, maybe he'll show you how to transition a bit better there, Fudge. But he did that with ease, and Danger Paul would certainly want to avoid any ground battle with Wahlberg here, to be honest. I mean, Wahlberg's dangerous everywhere, but particularly on the ground. His submission game is very deadly. Particularly nasty looking triangle choke. I've seen him use a guillotine before as well. I've even seen him use arm and leg submissions as well. So, and maybe even an arm triangle, I think. But yeah, Paul did show great promise in the clinch game. He wrestled Matty quite well, and was shoving him across the ring and displaying quite great power in the process of doing that as well. Wahlberg, though, took a time out and took a sip of his drink, vodka soda, water. I'm not sure, but he returned and he spat it straight into the face of Danger Paul, and then proceeded to troop him up and deliver a really nice springboard arm drag. So that at this point, then Paul vacated the ring and threatened to leave the room. He probably felt a bit insulted by the behaviour of Wahlberg, but again, it's those mind games that Wahlberg plays. Um, Interestingly, the crowd was very much behind Wahlberg. They're singing that goodbye chant in unison. Matty was soaking it in. He was dancing. He was walking on his hands, and Danger Paul then used this as an opportunity to take advantage of this grandstanding, as Don Manuel put, and he pulled Wahlberg down and delivered a pretty stiff-looking forearm as well. And this allowed Paul an opportunity, and he took it. He clubbed Wahlberg on his back repeatedly, and he was using some pretty heavy-handed offense in the corner. But unfortunately, Wahlberg then countered that relatively quickly, and he used the ropes himself to generate a pretty nasty armbar. So, you think of like the tarantula choke on the corner where they use the ropes to generate leverage, like Tajiri or I think Suzuki as well. Well, Wahlberg uses it as an opportunity to generate leverage for an armbar. It's pretty nasty looking stuff. And then he followed up with that signature leg lariat as well, which I always love to see. It just, he's got a nice long leg, and he just takes their head off with it. It's very nice. He also tied Paul to the tree of woe, and he employed that always painful to watch that groin standing stomping thing. It just makes me cringe. It is entertaining to watch, but it makes me cringe. Danger Paul would get another opportunity. We saw quite a few signature moves from Matty Wahlberg back to back to back, and usually that spells danger. But sorry, Danger Paul, it does spell trouble. And but he then fired up a bit, and he get another opportunity, and he flung his body at really high speed actually in the corner. It was some pretty nasty corner clotheslines, and then he really delivered this really nice power slam as well, which really took the wind out of Wahlberg. And then it got to the point where he even looked like he was getting the better of the striking exchange as well, from what I could see, because he'd really sort of rattled Wahlberg a little bit. He rocked him. But Wahlberg's instincts as a fighter, I think, even having all that training, you'd have to train. I don't know enough about fighting, but I would imagine that you would have to train being in those really uncomfortable positions and having to dig deep, and even the wrestling training that these guys go through, where you're being worked to the point where you just want to quit and you can't quit. Your mental, it's all about that mental strength. It's not just your body, because sometimes your body is shutting down and you need to use your mind to really get somewhere. And I feel like his mind really got him here. So despite all that showboating, he showed some great mental strength here, and I believe he got him into a triangle choke. Just looking at my notes here, apologies, my eyes are a bit weary. It's 8:45 on a Monday night. But yeah, so basically he got into a triangle choke, and then we almost saw the Pride Rampage Jackson powerbomb, which would have been the go, I think, if Paul had been able to lift him up and really generate enough force. He could probably have bounced his head off the mat and knocked him out. We've seen it in things like Pride. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Rampage Jackson powerbomb Pride. I'm sure you just have to Google that and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Danger Paul, not discounting the guy's strength. It was an incredible feat of strength where he lifted Wahlberg up and powerbombed him out of the triangle choke, and it was good enough to escape. That triangle choke is dangerous enough where you would want to just escape. He got out of it, and even performed his own submission move. He pretty nasty looking gory special actually, and the way that he was just sort of cranking on Wahlberg, it really made me cringe. But then Wahlberg, he countered with some pretty vicious knees, and he sort of did this sit-out slam, and then he locked in this new submission that I've never seen before, where he basically locked up all of Danger Paul's limbs, and he like crossed them all over, and he sort of held them in with his legs and his arms. It was really impressive. But then he had a leg free, so what he did with that free leg was just basically relentlessly kick Danger Paul straight in his face, until really he had nothing else to give, and he had to verbally submit. Nobody would have survived that, because he was just delivering these really nasty kicks to the head. And I'm pretty convinced that if he wouldn't have verbally submitted, he was going to sleep. Really great win by Warburg here. He showed something really different, while still employing elements of his usual game. This submission was something else. And he fought off a very game opponent in Danger Paul. Like, the guy cannot be written off. He's wrestled almost as long as Robbie Eagles. I remember seeing him under the AWF banner back in the day, under a character called the Illusionist. So the guy's been around for quite some time. And I'm certain we'll see more of him in PWA. I saw he got booked in FWA over the weekend as well, so it's good to see him getting some regular bookings around New South Wales. Hopefully we see him in the Rumble, because Matty Warburg can't compete in the Rumble due to his participation in the Coliseum tournament. But we would find out that this night that Matty Warburg had worked out who the international guest was that would be competing at Break Their Backs and Make Them Rumble, and that is TJ Perkins. And Matty Wahlberg will be taking on TJ Perkins. And what a warm-up for Coliseum that will be. Matty delivered a promo. He said he believes he is on TJP's level, and he is going to use him as the perfect sounding board going into Coliseum. And he is going to beat TJP. We will see. And it will be a massive test for Wahlberg. And it will be a measuring stick for Coliseum. Like, you look at Perkins and you say he's a cruiserweight, but and you expect maybe high flying moves and stuff. But if you know enough about TJ Perkins, he has phenomenal grappling prowess, and what a perfect way to warm up for Coliseum. The world's best grapplers have been invited to this tournament. Why not compete with one that I think it's safe to say will not be competing in the tournament? Amazing. And I can't wait for it. Okay, the next match was another great one. And had a great promo as well, which I won't go into great detail with, but the Prefects in Jimmy Townsend and Billy Preston, they took on Kingsley and Jack J. Bonza, Uncle Jack, for those of you playing at home. And this was our final contest before the intermission, and it was a tag team one, with the Prefects taking on, I believe it's the Red Nation. And it's really interesting seeing Bonza and Kingsley as characters, because they're very different. Bonza is that sort of stoic and reserved character, and yes, he is a bully, but he sort of has that stoic and, reserved nature, while Kingsley sort of prances around. It kind of reminded me of Nelson and Martin Prince in a particular episode of The Simpsons, Lemon of Troy. It was quite good. It was something that came to my mind because Simpson references rule my life, unfortunately. The promo was quite great, because the young schoolboys, the young Prefects, they wanted nothing to do with Jack J. Bonza. When they found out that he was involved in this match, they were excited. They had a match with Kingsley, but little did they know that they also had a match with Uncle Jack, and Uncle Jack is not somebody that you want to mess with, and neither of the boys wanted to get involved with Jack J. Bonza at the start of this one. They were actively encouraging him to tag Kingsley, and the boys quite clearly have a crush on Kingsley. And Kingsley asked for that tag as well, and Uncle Jack, I'm sorry to say this, he appears to have a bit of a softer side around Kingsley, and he gave in and he tagged her in, and this made Jimmy Townsend very happy. Jimmy Townsend sort of went for a few grapples, and he then would tag in Billy Preston, who threatened a nipple cripple at one point. And Uncle Jack got very upset, and he came into the ring and he made both those little boys scurry out of the ring very quickly into their corner. And Jack wanted to do some harm for them coming after Kingsley. He's very protective of Kingsley. So at this point, Bonds then demanded to be properly tagged in the ring, and he delivered some pretty nasty chops to the boys. And he launched Jimmy Townsend into the corner in this like suplex. It looked like a car accident. It looked nasty. Some serious impacts of whiplash there. Bonza had complete control, but Kingsley demanded to be tagged back into the match by her Uncle Jack. And she had a bit of a much stronger showing the second time around, after those awkward moments with the young teenagers going through puberty, even though they swear to be 18 with their fake Hawaiian IDs. But after some nice double team offense from her and Jack J. Bonza, she looked quite good, and she was getting the better of the two boys after they, were being a bit silly at the start of the match. But while she was looking for approval from, the commander of the Red Nation, Billy Preston was able to actually tag in Jimmy Townsend because she sort of had Billy Preston under control. But Jack J then tagged himself in, and he controlled Jimmy Townsend basically by grabbing the guy by the leg. It's like it really was Lemon of Troy, like Nelson Muntz just coming through and just cleaning house. At that point, it was a great moment because he sort of grabbed Townsend by the leg and walked him over to Kingsley, and he was teaching her. It was a teaching moment in the match, and he actually said to her, "Is there anything else you want to do before we go home?" So it was a bit of an outing for the two in this match, and Kingsley thought of something, and she got into the ring and she did her best Barbara Dudley impersonation, and she pushed Bonza's chest. She slapped it and she said, "Get the tea." And Bonzo was a bit like, no, I'm not doing that. But he caved. He caved to Kingsley. Her bratty demands. He went and he got the teacup from under the ring, and it was a great spot where he stretched Jimmy Townsend out, like with the surfboard, but into a table so that Kingsley could have a bit of a tea party. She was putting the teacup on Townsend's core, and then she took a sip, and then spat at him as well, just to really rub it in. Because that surfboard stretch would be excruciating. We actually got a really nice double team move off the back of this spot as well, where Bonza kind of released Townsend, the top half of Townsend, so he flipped over towards Kingsley, and then Kingsley turned it into a code breaker. It was very nice. Kingsley then tagged Bonza in, and Townsend kind of got a bit of a moment. He thwarted Bonza, and Bonza went straight shoulder first into the corner, and that put him out. And under lucha tag rules, which credit to the guys on commentary, they explained that Kingsley became the legal wrestler, and they hit a double team schoolboy into the turnbuckle. They followed that up by Bronco Buster, and it was great looking at the crowd doing the sort of the hands around the neck going, nah, stop it. They didn't like the Bronco Buster. They then hit their wedge DDT, their wedgie DDT move. Uncle Jack made the save. Jack Bonza looked to get the ascendancy back. However, the prefix again got the commander of the Red Nation onto the outside, and he was hit by a schoolboy bomb. So I think Townsend threw Preston using a schoolboy. Could have been the other way around. Very, very nice move. They used the schoolboy not only as a pin, but also as a move. They flinged Kingsley into the corner before with the schoolboy, and then Jack J. Bonza here as well. But unfortunately, this then isolated Kingsley, and Preston was able to So it must have been Preston trying Townsend. Sorry, yes. But yeah, basically what happened was Jimmy Townsend was there on the outside. So Billy Preston was able to get sort of a schoolboy hold on, and Kingsley was holding onto the ropes, trying to avoid being taken down for the pin. And then Jimmy Townsend got back into the ring and dived. Bonza got up on the ropes and held Kingsley's hands as well. And then Jimmy Townsend sort of came through and attacked the arms to break them, and Kingsley unfortunately went into the schoolboy. Nobody kicks out of the schoolboy, so 1, 2, 3, match was done. The Prefects get a huge win over Jack J. Bonza and Kingsley, and Bonza looked pretty dejected at first, but he forgave Kingsley. It was a bit of uh, an unfortunate series of events that transpired there at the end, and they were smiles at the end. But the Prefects, if you'd watched the Newey Pro Rumble the night before, they have an argument for being the MVP of Quack weekend. They had a schoolyard rules match in the Newey Pro Rumble show. It was absolutely fantastic. The winner getting the opportunity to go into the Newey Pro Rumble. I won't spoil that one for you. I'll do a Newey Pro cast down the line when I get a chance. But absolutely fantastic match there, and then a fantastic match here as well. It was a great story with Kingsley and Bonza, and I definitely want to see more of Kingsley and Bonza teaming together. They are not Team Discovery Channel like Martin Prince and Nelson Muntz. They probably have a much better name. But I'd love to see them in more action. Kingsley's always looking fantastic in the ring, and also her character work is amazing. She's doing great stuff. And then Jack Bonza obviously as well. But yeah, the Prefects, like I said, I reckon they MVPs of the weekend in my view. This was a great match. My favourite match of the evening, maybe not. There were so many great matches on here, but I was a really big fan of Sam Osborne, Kai Drake. But take nothing away from the match. Superb match. And yeah, the Prefects did a wonderful job. And again, I'll say it again, MVPs of the weekend, in my view, in my opinion. So after intermission, which for those of us who watched on OVO Play, we had Robbie Eagles versus Caveman Ugg at one of the early Black Label shows. It was a great match. So go back and watch that one on OVO Play. We had Hardcore Shazza McKenzie. She battled the other half of Lux, Kingsley being one half, Xena being the other. Xena basically had her smartphone tucked into her tights, which was recognised by referee Nick, and it plays on this whole thing where Xena is not showing the focus. In my write-up, I referred to her as the Nick Kyrgios. It's probably not fair, but she has all the talent in the world, but those that are senior in the PWA Academy, such as Shazza McKenzie, question the focus of Xena, maybe because they really see how much potential that she has, and they just wonder, well, she could be so much more, so much quicker. And they want to see her put that focus in and really ascend because they see great things for her, and they do want what's best for her. But I think Xena, like many young people, and I have been guilty of this in the past, we believe that we are right. But there's that old saying, hard work beats talent when talent refuses to work hard. Thank you, Mike Goldberg, UFC. He used to love that. He used to love that saying. But in the early goings of this one, Xena and Shazza had a really nice technical exchange, and Shazza seemed to be getting the better of it, but Xena showed every bit of her talent, and she competed with Shazza at a grappling level. And hardcore Shazza McKenzie really had to she had to dig deep and do something crafty to win a technical exchange. It wasn't just a simple move where, it was quite, sorry, I'm getting really tangled up with my words tonight. I apologise. But yeah, she just would have to find something unique. Like, if they were going for arm locks or something like, she'd have to go for the leg. And when Xena was sort of worried about the arms, so there was an experience gap. But Xena definitely held up her end of the bargain in the grappling. Xena, on the other hand, uncorked a really nice pair of very stiff kicks. And that actually gave her control of the match as well. And she followed up with a pretty devastating looking brainbuster and some corner chops as well. And those corner chops were probably the loudest of the night. Although there were a few loud ones with Kai Drake, and I think even Matt Diamond delivered some pretty nasty ones in the main event, but we will get to that very soon. I wonder how Shaz's upper chest would have felt, though. I imagine it would have been very sore after this one. But Shazza showed some resistance, nice Hurricanrana, but ultimately ended up in the middle of the ring for something that you have probably seen on social media. There's an infamous selfie that was posted by Xena. Her phone had got taken off her at the start of the match by referee Nick. She went and got that phone, and she showed that she is the ultimate millennial in my view. She's always got her phone ready for a selfie, and what better selfie than getting a tortured opponent and smiling while you're grappling them. That's what she did. Yeah, after that though, Shazza brought Xena back down to earth pretty quickly with a schoolboy, and then followed that up with a lovely crossbody. And then we got some nice fighting spirit moves where they were striking each other in the middle of the ring. Then we got some vintage Shazza where she went for that kick count, the 10 kick count, where she hangs them over the ropes. But Xena caught kick number 10 and turned it into a pretty nasty big back body drop on the apron, the corner apron. The hardest part of the ring, as they say, and then wrapped Shaz's legs into what looked like a lion tamer cloverleaf, which is pretty cool. Can't say I've seen that very much. Just a high angle. She didn't look like she quite got it. Shazza got to the ropes, escaped, kicked Xena away, and then allowed her to hit a really nice suplex. Back suplex, and that was followed up by a running knee, and then finally the Shaztastic Stunner got the W here. Really nice match from these two. Shazza building some momentum. I've said that after every match analysis, but she's in a bit of a position because lost the PWWA title. She was going after the PWA championship from Caveman Hug as well because she was questioned. Her championship credentials were questioned. And then she lost that belt to Jessica Troy of the Four Nations. And one of her biggest detractors was Jack Bonza from the Four Nations. So she's probably been quite low, let's be honest, and she's had to pick herself up here and really done it against somebody like Xena, who has so much talent and has really proven herself over the last couple of months with Black Label shows, these Green Label shows as well, showing what she is capable of in the PWA ring and even around New South Wales Wrestling as well with other promotions. I won't go into those too much, but big win for Shazza McKenzie, who I'm sure has a goal to win the Rumble and get her hands on Caveman Hug. Yes, she probably wants to verse Jessica Troy at some point down the track, but I think that she really wants to go after Caveman Hug. I think she has a point to prove that she is a deserved champion of PWA. And to do that, she needs to win a belt back. And what better belt to get than the big green belt? So I believe that will be her next goal. I could be wrong, but that's where I think she will go. As for Xena, hopefully she'll use this as a learning opportunity. Maybe she won't. She's got all the talent in the world. I hope she focuses, goes back to the drawing board, and hopefully we see plenty more battles between these two in the future. The next match was another really great one. It was between Michael Spencer, the Prince of All Wrestling, and he took on an Angel in Reese Angel. Michael Spencer's wrestling attire always deserves a comment, and this time I've seen this one before, but I did love seeing it again. He had the God of Destruction from Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Z, he had a Beerus inspired attire. Very, very nice. And whoever does all these attires for him, I think it's the PWA seamstress, does a wonderful job. They're really good. And he loves the Dragon Ball characters, the anime characters. It's really cool to see. Reese Angel making his PWA Green Label debut. He actually made his debut at Black Label for PWA at Call to Arms. So it was cool to actually see the reverse. And good on Reese Angel. He's doing great things, and I've seen him FWA and now here where he belongs in PWA. Reese Angel was encouraging the crowd here. The crowd always actively sledges Michael Spencer, so he was clapping along with the crowd, encouraging them to say, Spencer's a wanker and all that sort of stuff. There's a few other chants they use that are probably a bit too far to go. I don't mind swearing, but they're a bit too far. Maybe just listen back to the coverage and you'll know what I'm talking about. Or if you've been in a PWA live audience, you know exactly what chant I'm talking about. Reese grappled really well at the beginning of this one, but Spencer is such an experienced grappler, and he's got probably the best, not only the best knees in wrestling, in my view, but he's got some of the best ring awareness as well. And he used that in this match. And one match that springs to mind is his match with Madison Eagles, where Madison was constantly getting him into points of submission, and he'd find a way to get to the ropes. And sometimes it's out of desperation or just knowing where he is at all times. His spatial awareness in the ring is a really good quality of his as a grappler, and I think it just makes him so much more dangerous because you may think you have him, but you don't. So he was able to foil Madison Eagles previously with that, and I think he did a really good job foiling Angel there early as well, who was trying to build some momentum against somebody like Spencer. Angel did hit some really nice arm drags. He did have a bit of difficulty with the low ceiling. I think he hit his head, and I hope he's okay from that. It's very low ceiling at Crowbar, if you're not familiar. So it really does restrict some of the moves that the guys can hit. And I think it's a good thing because I think it makes them adapt their style and show something a bit different. And Reese Angel kind of learned the hard way a little bit. He bumped his head and realised that he probably wouldn't be able to do exactly what he had hoped to be able to do in this match with Spencer. So it meant he needed to adjust. He needed to try something different. But Spencer, though, has the ultimate halt to anyone's momentum, and it's the knee strikes. And he hit a really nice one where he sort of faked, I think it was a strike with his upper body, and then just threw the knee straight into a ducking Reese Angel. So he ate the knee square on. Lucky he didn't knock him out, to be honest. Nasty stuff from Spencer. Those knees are so deadly. Spencer at this point smells blood immediately in the water. He grandstands to the crowd, and they just hate him so much that they continue those chants. He just draws so much heat. He's so good at it. It would be weird seeing him as a face. I think he just draws so much heat from the crowd. It's amazing. So sorry. Spencer continued to work on Angel, including his really nice double shot 619, and then, but he did start to look at the crowd when they were giving these chants, and it was a distraction because where he sort of went for the dive through the ropes spear that we've seen him do many times, Angel sort of countered it into his Mind Freak. And then hitting his Mind Freak double axe handle. And then Angel followed up with a really lovely moonsault and a DDT as well. But Spencer, again, showed sort of that phenomenal ring awareness, and he rolled himself out of the ring. So it's not even in the submission, only in the submissions. Like, he hits the deck and he just knows he needs to get out of the ring, because the ring is obviously where the match can end for him via pinfall. And when he's in that sort of dangerous position, just by instinct, he knows he needs to just roll towards the ring. So even if he was a bit groggy after copying that DDT, he's just known, I need to roll and get to the outside. So very, very clever in terms of ring awareness, and it just makes someone like Spencer so difficult to put away. Unfortunately, that was probably the last of Reece Angel's offense, because he went to the outside, he got thrown into the corner post, and then upon getting back in the ring, he was pretty defiant in defeat, but he was tired, he was fatigued, and someone like Spencer had worn him down, and he just looked at him and sort of went, "Fuck you, Spencer," and he flipped him off, he gave him the bird, and he copped a really nasty knee straight to the face. And then Michael Spencer then lined him up and springboard into a big knee across the back of the head. And so the defiant, in defeat, Reece Angel taken out by the knees, and Michael Spencer defeating a very impressive young gun in very impressive fashion as well. And Reece Angel has shown some exceptional promise in the encounters I've seen with him, and he's a very exciting prospect in my view in the years ahead. Spencer, well, as I said when I was talking about Danger Paul, he has won a PWA Battle Royal before. It might not have had some of the top level talent who may have been busy with other matches against members of the Progress roster. However, he has won a Battle Royale in PWA, and not that many people can say that. So Spencer holds things above other grapplers in the PWA roster. He's got something over them. So it'll be really interesting to see what sort of impact Michael Spencer might have at Break Their Backs and Make Them Rumble. Final match of the evening was a phenomenal one. It was between the Velocities and understrength Velocities and undermanned Velocities. Jude the Dude London recovering from a punctured lung, which required surgery. He was unable to compete. He will be competing at Break Their Backs and Make Them Rumble against the Four Nations for the PWA Tag Team Championships. What a match that's going to be. The Velocities with Mike Quackenbush took on the Four Nations, the trio, Jessica Troy, Adam Hoffman, and Mick Moretti. The promo for this was amazing to announce Quackenbush. Go back and watch that on PW's Facebook page. I know they have the full video. It's a great little thing where I think as a goof, Moretti thought he was going to get the best of the Velocities, and then they pulled Quackenbush into the fold for this trios match. As a trios warm up, and you haven't got your regular trio, what better person to have than somebody that's quite well versed in King of Trios, in the creator of Shikara, or one of the founders, Mike Quackenbush. Jude, fortunately, was on commentary for this one to support his boys. This was a star-studded one. You got the PWWA champion, one half of the PWA Tag Team Champions, 4 grapplers that are soon to compete in the King of Trios, and as I said, a man that not only founded Shikara, but also makes it his mission to educate anyone and everyone who will listen on the keys to becoming a better performer, and of course is an incredible performer in his own right, Mike Quackenbush. And Mike Quackenbush starts in the ring with Jessica Troy. Wonderful technical display between these two. Quackenbush sort of getting some early stuff in. Then Jessica threatens the arm on a couple of occasions as well. He was able to reply, tying her up in pretty impressive fashion. This sort of modified Dragon Sleeper off a Romero special was just one of the things that was very cool from Quackenbush. He's mesmerising to watch in the ring. He tags into Silver at this point, whom, while Jessica Troy distracted, it sort of allowed the nations to come in, that experience. The trio, they then attacked So then De Silva gets put in sort of a stretch between two of the Four Nations guys, Moretti and Hoffman. But then Diamond and Quackenbush then come in and turn the tables, and it's not until Jessica Troy sort of threatens a pinfall that that sort of ends that tug of war, if you will. The ring sort of clears after that, except for De Silva and Moretti. Moretti playing the mind games. He's mocking the height of De Silva. He loves his puzzles and his mind games. He does another one where he ties himself up and he just leaves one hand, and he's encouraging De Silva to go for this hand. De Silva, unfortunately, gets sucked in, and Moretti takes advantage of him. But despite the technical prowess of Moretti, one thing that De Silva has in a greater fashion is his speed. And Paris De Silva used his speed to sort of outgun Moretti with some of these technical moves, and hit a very clever takedown and Hurricanrana as well. And he played a pretty cool mind game of his own too. He took advantage of the lucha tag rules to take himself out of the ring. Moretti forgot about the lucha tag rules and was too busy looking at De Silva, who was waving at him, and this allowed legal man Matt Diamond to then attack Moretti. Moretti escaped to the outside of himself at this point, and that brought in Adam Hoffman. And Diamond and Hoffman sort of exchanged counters for much of their time in the ring together, with both men finding it difficult to get an edge. Diamond hit a really lovely drop kick, allowing him to tag Quackenbush in. And despite being paired together for a short time, Quackenbush and the Velocity showed some wonderful displays of cohesion. Double teaming Hoffman, thwarting Moretti, who, Quackenbush seemed to be in a spot of bother with, if I do say so, at this portion of the match. The Nations, meanwhile, showed their classic offense, putting together their smooth senton combo, which I always love to see. They isolated Matt Diamond from his trio teammates, and they actually did this a couple of times during the match. But then we saw him actually break out, and he sort of startled Hoffman and the Rapscallion, and he delivered some nasty chops. So these may have been the most audible ones. I've actually, in my notes, said highly audible chops. And the double Pele kick, which was awesome. And that allowed him to roll to the outside. Paris De Silva re-enters the fray. Paris does really well until Troy pulls him from the ring and attacks him on the outside. Mike Quackenbush then returns to action. Was handling himself well against Hoffman and Moretti, but unfortunately the numbers game did get to him too, which brought Diamond back into the contest. And again, this was the second time he got isolated into the Nation's corner. Matt Diamond did manage a big break, though, when he hit the Diamond Cutter on Moretti, thwarted the other members of the Nations to get a hot tag on Quack. And then the Velocities and the Master of 1,000 Holds then triple teamed Moretti into a chain of combinations, but they were unable to get the three on Moretti. It's just too damn tough. Jessica Troy and Quackenbush had another great exchange following this, with Mike hitting his Black Tornado Slam, and Jessica in turn capturing Mike in that Fujiwara armbar where she gets spun around like it looks like it's going to be a side slam, and she counters it into the Fujiwara armbar. I always love seeing that. And Paris De Silva was the only person to save Quackenbush from his arm being added to the collection, to being mounted on the wall of Jessica's house. De Silva, though, for his defiance, ate a massive power bomb from Hoffman, but that wasn't enough. They then triple power bombed him, with Jessica Troy sort of being she sort of ran the ropes and then sort of hit a running sit-down powerbomb off the back of this triple move. It was bloody awesome. And I probably haven't described it properly, but it was great. The Velocities, though, they gained control again through Quackenbush, who, And again, they displayed wonderful cohesion despite, not spending a lot of time together. Quackenbush narrowly misses a pinfall after hitting his QD3, but the Velocities would still pick up a massive win over the Nations after Diamond hit a diamond cutter on Jessica Troy off of the top turnbuckle after using Moretti as a step up, sort of think poetry in motion with Jeff Hardy and Matt, but Matt Diamond jumps up to the top rope and hits that diamond cutter. It was nasty. Massive, massive win for the Velocities over not only their King of Trios opponents or potential King of Trios opponents, depending on the brackets, but over, more importantly, their PWA Tag Team Titles opponents. Yes, Jack J. Bonza was not in this match, but the Four Nations are an incredible team no matter which combination you get. So it's going to be very interesting to see what a fired up Velocities will be like now that they've smelt the blood, they've got that pinfall, which has eluded them in the past against Bonza and Moretti. It was an incredible match. I really enjoyed it. It was a wonderful way to kick off a spectacular show from PWA. Like I said in my write-up, Quack to the Future was a very appropriate name, not only for Quack Week, but also, for all the amazing debuts paired with those ascending the ranks, the future, working with the experienced guys as well, guys and gals. So it was very cool to see. It was a great show, and if you have not seen it yet and you were silly enough to listen to this, you should definitely go and check it out anyway. It was fantastic, and that's on OVOplay, and you can, of course, sign up for as little as $10 a month. Okay, I've looked at the time. I'm an hour and 26 in, so I won't take up too much more of your time. Thank you so much if you are still listening and giving me an opportunity. Just doing this for a bit of fun. I love talking wrestling. I love talking PWA and Newey Pro in particular. I'm very fond of those two promotions, but I do want to grow New South Wales wrestling. But I could not do this OVO podcast without touching on the upcoming event. PWA Black Label presents Break Their Backs and Make Them Rumble. So we have the full card. PWA confirmed that this afternoon at about 4 p.m. So we've got the PWA Tag Team Championship, the Nations, Jack J. Bonza and Mick Moretti versus the Velocities, Jude the Dude London and Paris da Silva. Those guys have had epic matches previously. If you can go back and check those out, please do. The Shooting Star DDT comes from one of those matches. Paris the GIF. We will probably see a de-giffable moment here, or a Jude the Dude giffable moment here as well. Maybe we will see a Four Nations giffable moment, but what I can guarantee is we will have a phenomenal tag team match. The matches that these guys have had with each other have been absolutely outstanding. I expect nothing less from this one. Some of the best tag team wrestling I've ever seen. I'm going to be perfectly honest. Fantastic storytelling. And this one could go either way. I'm going to go with the Velocities finally defeating the PWA Tag Team Champions in Jack J. Bonza and Mick Moretti, and finally taking those tag team titles. They've earned them, and I think they will finally. They were so close to getting 3 last time. Just very unlucky. I think this time luck will be on their side. They will get that win. The next match, TJ Perkins taking on Matty Wahlberg. As I've sort of said previously, Matty Wahlberg looking for this opportunity to prove that he has got what it takes to win Coliseum. He is going to use a match with TJ Perkins, a former WWE superstar, a guy that's competed in New Japan, a guy that's been around forever in TJ Perkins, doing some wonderful things, a really high-level wrestler, a really high-level grappler. He's been going all around Australia at the moment. He's going to be taking on Damian Slater. He's battled Lynx Lewis Jr. He's battled Michael Spencer. So you better believe Matty Wahlberg's going to spend some time with Michael Spencer. What can you say? Matty Wahlberg is doing nothing but amazing things, no matter what he does. Doesn't matter whereabouts he is, whether it be on an island or on a TV show or in a wrestling ring. He's been killing it. Even in front of a camera, cutting a promo. Everything he's been doing is straight fire. Um, and this is a huge match for him. And I can actually see him beating TJ Perkins here and really sending a message to anybody that is in that Coliseum tournament. Not only Davis Storm or Orange Cassidy, but anybody else that gets announced. I'm sure we will get another competitor announced very soon. Um, but yes, um, Maddie Wahlberg will get the win here. So something to note for those unaware, Maddie did say he could not be in the Rumble. The reason for that obviously is the 30-man over the top battle royale, the winner to face Caveman Ugg for the PWA Championship night 2 of the Coliseum tournament weekend. So that is why Maddie Wahlberg announced that he would not be able to compete in the tournament, because that championship match comes on Coliseum weekend. Okay, the PWWA Championship. Jessica Troy, the Arm Collector, will battle Matt Diamond, the other member of the Velocities. So the Velocities have quite the opportunity here where they could walk out, break their backs, and make them rumble with all the belts. The Nations could keep all the belts. So it's really interesting, or we could split down the middle. And this is going to be a really great match. Matt Diamond is so impressive. He's the middleweight champion of Nui Pro. But he's got his work cut out for him here against Jessica Troy, who's just been on an absolute tear. Doesn't matter where she is or what she does in New South Wales wrestling, she's just cleaning up everywhere. Titles coming out of everywhere. Sorry, I didn't really word that properly, but she's not only collecting arms, she's collecting titles, she's collecting trophies, and she's going to retain here. She's going to collect Matt Diamond's arm, unfortunately for Matt Diamond. I think he will put up a hell of a fight. He will take her to the absolute limit. As you can see, he's a diamond cutter away from winning a match, but I just think that Jessica Troy is just on such a level now, and I think that especially after the announcement that this PWWA Championship was open to anybody, I think she's got a point to prove herself. I know there was a focus on Shazza McKenzie, sort of, going and proving herself as a champion. Well, Jessica Troy has taken that belt from Shazza McKenzie, so she has that opportunity now that Madison Eagles has said this belt is open to anybody. What a way to prove it against the PWA stalwart in Matt Diamond, and really send a strong message to the rest of the roster that she's willing to take on anybody to prove her status as the PWWA champion. The next match, and the final match other than the Rumble, is the partners banned from ringside, Concrete Davidson versus Unsocial Jordan. So we have this rivalry between the Black Shirt Cool Group and SMS. It's been interesting because there's been sort of interference by Unsocial Jordan, and having sort of Jax Jordan in Conker's corner, and having Richard South in Unsocial Jordan's corner. There's been some shenanigans. There's been some interference, so there will be none of that. They're banned from ringside. No partners involved. We're going to see Concrete Davidson take on Unsocial Jordan. Prediction for this one, it's a real 50-50 call here. I'm going to go with Unsocial Jordan in this one. I think Unsocial Jordan will get the win. I think he will still do it in whatever means necessary. We may see the camera tripod come back into play again because he hasn't got the distraction, but I'm sure that he will find another way. He's a very crafty guy. But having said that, Concrete Davidson, he's a rebel. He's a rebel without a cause. He's raging against the machine, man. He's going to rise up. And hey, we may finally see the third man, who could be anyone. It could be anyone at all, and we could finally see the third man, potentially. It's been teased. So who knows? finally, we have that 30-man over-the-top battle royale. As I said, the winner, Two-Face Caveman Hug, for the PWA Championship on night 2 of the Coliseum Tournament weekend. Well, it's a tough one. There's a number of names, including the winners of a lot of those matches. You know, the likes of the Sam Osborns, the Michael Spencers, the Shazza McKenzie's, the Steph DeLanders, hell, the Richard Souths as well. A number of those people could be the potential winners of the match. I've got to make a pick here, make a prediction. I'll have a bit of fun with it. I'm going to go with Shazza McKenzie. Shazza McKenzie is going to win. Or is she in StarCast? And that she will not be there. Because then I'm going to look silly, aren't I? I better check that while you're all on the line. Because I should have done my research. How embarrassing. I'm very sorry. Sorry, I'm just flicking through here trying to find a date because I'm a goober, as Will Keatis would say. So 31st of the 8th, so she cannot be there. No way. So Shazza McKenzie will not win the Rumble. So apologies for that. Okay, who would win? I'm going to go with the original Richard South. I think he is at that point where he is ready to challenge for the belt. And I think, his transformation since joining SMS has really pushed him to that next level. And I really believe that he would be a credible threat to Caveman Hug, especially with someone like Unsocial Jordan in his corner as well. Very dangerous, though, for SMS to get power within PWA. Having that title really gives you some push and some sway. And I'd be very nervous as to what that would mean with SMS having such power in PWA. But I just feel Richard South is on another level at the moment. He's been sending a message, and he would really make people have to really take notice and potentially stand with SMS, especially with him as the winner of the Break Their Backs and Make Them Rumble. So that's my prediction. I'll throw another name out there, though, Steph DeLander. There's no reason someone like Steph DeLander couldn't win as well. She is a killer, and I think she'll go far in the Rumble herself. I think if she's not the winner, she'll be in the Final Four. So let me know what your predictions are for the matches. I might do a little preview right up where I actually am a bit more I can actually talk. That would be nice. Thank you for your patience listening to me talk crap for a good hour and a bit. If you have listened and you've held on this long, thank you so much. My name is Dan Wilson. This is Receipt Radio. I've called this the OVOflow. You can follow me at POTATOANDRECEI1 on Twitter. You can search Potato and Receipt Pro Wrestling on Facebook. Give me a like. Feel free to get in touch with me to talk wrestling. Give me some feedback on the podcast, which has been poor. Give me some feedback on my writing. I would appreciate that as well. And if there's some areas that you'd like me to write about, or some people that you'd want me to do my profile on, I haven't done a Meet a Wrestler for a couple of weeks. I will get back onto that. I just need to write them up and get in touch with some wrestlers who might be interested. If you are a wrestler who is interested, a promotion, a announcer, a commentator, a referee, and you'd like to be my profile, we saw Ref Jess. I would be more than happy to do a write-up about you as well. So Thank you very much for listening. I hope to see you on social media or at a wrestling show very soon. Thank you very much.